You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life. The facts of life. When the world never seems to be living up to your dreams.
You know, despite the marketing, this shit's really more of like a glorified Snapchat filter most of the time. They, try to do something interesting with it, I guess. There's a story in here about spending time with lost loved ones that's almost horrifying the more you hear about the prospects of them having AIs create profiles of your dead relatives based on their Facebook or some shit, where grandma could be bugging you to water her crops in Farmville or forwarding you obvious AI-generated videos thinking that they're real from beyond the grave. I guess they tried to play into their strengths by at least lampshading that the generated backgrounds are horrifying monstrosities and bizarre, but whatever is there is kind of buried under the fact that this is marketed as the first AI-generated anime, and the fact that the only way to watch this is with AI-translated meme subs, which is pretty fitting, honestly. It's funny that everyone forgot about this shit the instant it came out because it was immediately overshadowed by that Studio Ghibli AI shit.
Whatever you say, Mumi.
At least when AI takes over the industry, I'll finally be able to finish my backlog.
ちょっとその前に食事の前に話さなきゃいけないことがある。琴乃の15歳の誕生日に話そうと決めていた。お父さんがお前たち全員を愛していることに変わりはない。単刀直入に言おう。君たちは本当の兄弟ではない。
Wait, was that the Dark Souls death sound?
We are definitely living in a golden age of girls band anime right now, with Bocchi the Rock becoming one of the defining anime of the decade so far, the two most recent Bang Dream anime turning out to be both critical and commercial successes, and Girls Band Cry growing a devoted international following despite any official English release while it was airing. Things have never really been better for the genre. Fans are eating pretty good, and it looks like Rock as a Lady's Modesty is not going to break that win streak. It basically takes the irreverent angst and repressed emotion of something like Girls Band Cry and just cranks it up to 11. Just take the Yuri elements, for example. There's none of that, oh, they're just good friends bullshit. The music performances in the show are less jam sessions and more like BDSM play with musical instruments. Just look at how sweaty and out of breath they are. It's not exactly subtle. It's really, really not fucking subtle. But of course, that over-the-top aggression is then contrasted against the prim and proper nature of high society. Honestly, with all this flower imagery, it's basically just Onisama-e, but instead of pen pals and bullying and recreational drug abuse, it's just an episode of VH1's Behind the Music.
Childhood friendships up to an early lead, but worse girls hot on her trail. Emoto's pantsuits looking for an opening, but having trouble kicking around a dynamic duo of hot-glued waifu and crusty Daki. Apparently, for me to give a shit about a sports anime, they just need to be deranged in some way. Sure, this might just be a track anime, but now they're horse girls. Just check out those haunches. There's honestly a really interesting reverence for horse derbies present in this show that kind of just makes me vicariously proud that otaku can just autistically hyperfixate and sexualize anything. Guns, tanks, battleships, horse derbies, you fucking name it. The main girl is cute, and what the hell is that music? Oh my god! I've never watched another Umamusume series, but this is making me think I kinda fucked up because this is fucking awesome. And now that JoJo Part 7's been announced, I can't wait for the Steel Ball Run Umamusume crossover.
Talking finally! I swear to God, it feels like I have been waiting for this show to come out for years. And so far, it's been well worth the wait. As a fan of the original To Be Hero, well, the humor of the new show is less scatological, and the art style is, I mean, just look at it. This is definitely going to end up being one of the best looking shows of the year, and honestly possibly even the decade as a whole if it keeps this up. But much like previous installments in the To Be Hero franchise, this still obviously has a bitter, cynical sense of humor when it comes to herodom, in stark contrast to the bright and shiny optimism of something like My Hero Academia. And with Neja 2 seemingly breaking literally every box office record imaginable, if this show can be turned into a critical and commercial success, then 2025 is going to go down as one of the best years in the history of Chinese animation. Better brush up on your Mandarin.
Sometimes it feels like PA Works is saving anime. They consistently put out anime original series that are usually pretty good, until they're not. But on the mood scale, from It's So Over to We're So Back, I'm happy to say that just like the slice of life genre, we are fucking back! Now, I admit, like many of you, I was also confused at whether or not this was an adaptation of a Chicken Soup for the Soul story. It's not. Instead, what we got is something that's closer to Bocchi the Rock. A social introvert that doesn't know where she went wrong in life watching cooking videos on YouTube? She's literally— Okay, not quite. Maybe if it were Kitchen Nightmares. But unlike the other slice of life shows this season, this one's about food. Finally, accessible recipes I can do at home so I can stop eating McDonald's. And unlike the anime original show from last season that prominently featured cooking, this one's not edgy at all.
Oh my god!
While the visuals have been pretty good and the comedy's gotten a few laughs out of me, it's definitely the character dynamics that have been the standout aspect of the show so far. I have to say though, while it's been relaxing so far, there's just something about it that kind of makes me feel uneasy at points. Maybe it's the gnawing realization that these shows are meant to fill the crushing void of loneliness and distract me from— What are you— What?
Okay, so here are the reasons you should watch My Hero Academia Vigilantes. Reason number 1. You shouldn't need any more reasons. Pop Step is perfect. Go watch the fucking show.
Once Upon a Witch's Death was basically the anime equivalent of a flyover state. When we booted up the first episode, I had somehow forgotten it even existed or how I had downloaded it in the first place. But despite first impressions, or lack thereof, this show has definitely managed to leave an impact. It's about a girl who's going to die in a year unless she collects an arbitrary amount of MacGuffins that are created by making people happy. While the production might not exactly live up to the insane standards set by the rest of the season, there are some genuine moments in here. But the real draw of the show has to be the protagonist. While you might expect a show with such a somber premise to have a dour protagonist, what you actually got is—
やばいメグ、私もらしそう。大丈夫？飲もうか？
If you love this little gremlin as much as I do, then strap in for a good time. If you don't, well, you're just wrong and you can go
The original 1979 anime adaptation of Anne of the Green Gables is legitimately one of my favorite anime of all time. Directed by Isao Takahata, one of the all-time GOATs with some of the greatest backgrounds in anime period. The latest anime adaptation by the Answer Studio. Wait, what have they done? Okay, yeah, Flag, let's go with that. Needless to say, though, there are some pretty big shoes to fill for this new adaptation. And it does a pretty good job, honestly. Obviously, being half the runtime, the pacing is a lot faster than the 79 anime, which makes sense nowadays, because you need faster pacing in order to appeal to the TikTok, Subway Surfer, Skibbity Toilet, Family Guy Funny Moments, Brain Rot generation.
There is nothing wrong with your television set.
When I said no, they ignored me.
Do not attempt to adjust the picture.
I'm 16.
The backgrounds themselves don't look like literal Bob Ross paintings anymore, but instead they almost give off like a storybook quality and texture to them. And seeing Anne herself in such lively animation, it gives her a much more hyperactive and energetic feel to go along with her larger-than-life imagination. It's obviously like a different vibe and approach to her character from the original show, and that shift in focus is honestly making me reflect back on the old show and appreciate things I never really thought about before. And while this new show is definitely different, it's different in a way that is still very well executed. And if it ends up adapting the sequel novels as well, I think it will definitely end up standing on its own as an Anne adaptation.
Cat Planet Cuties is the remake of the hit 1980s sitcom ALF that everyone's been clamoring for. But really though, what's striking to me about this show isn't necessarily the soft visuals or the soundtrack that kind of sounds like Renge beating Yotsuba to death with a recorder, but how hilariously cynical it actually is. The whole premise is an advanced alien species has to come to Earth to relearn the technological skill tree after they killed all of their engineers and everyone left doesn't know how the advanced technology they use on a daily basis actually works. It kind of reminds me of something like Nia Under 7, just instead of the biting social commentary on Japan's stance on immigration and foreigners, we have this biting social commentary on how, despite having all the world's knowledge at our fingertips, we use it just to waste time watching cat videos. Or anime reviews. If watching a socially awkward college girl and a talking cat act like idiots for 20 minutes a week with this underlying authenticity that can't help but heal your soul sounds like your thing, you should probably check it out. Or just watch more cat videos, I guess.
And the award for the least appealing English name of the season goes to... From Country Bumpkin to Master Swords. This show is pretty nice, honestly. It's not that different from a lot of other fantasy shows with an overpowered main character. And the main character is incredibly strong, but his talent goes largely unappreciated by most of the world. But at the same time, everyone he meets seems to really like him and be aware of how powerful he is.
How original.
And he also just has this slew of cute girls that hang around him as well.
Daring today, aren't we?
But having a main character who's an older guy who basically just let life pass him by instead of John Power Fantasy, while that's seemingly a minor change, it really helps recontextualize those Power Fantasy elements. And wait, I haven't really seen all that much before. And in case you were wondering, no, the main character is not a pedophile.
なんだか賞もらえたのも奇跡だったんだろうな。なんかもう消え去りたい。
Want to get away?
You know, this one feels like it kind of strikes close to home for some reason. I don't know if it's because if you kind of squint, you can kind of mistake it for a new Kino's Journey entry, or I guess more likely is because it reminds me of traveling around Japan myself. Some of the most memorable parts of my trip were when I traveled off the beaten path. Sure, yeah, doing the shrine photo op circuit and Akihabara bankruptcy speedrun was fun, but it was the quiet moments like getting lost on a mountain trail and stumbling on a sleepy cliffside coffee shop that have stuck with me the most. And Zatsu Tabi scratches that itch for me. Watching liberal arts student Kino get away from it all in this transparent attempt at domestic tourism propaganda and just take some time to enjoy the sights of a new town and push yourself out of her comfort zone to experience new things almost makes me forget I'm sitting in my room alone at my desk avoiding all human contact. Now, is it the best slice of life this season? Probably not. But if you're feeling a bit of wanderlust and can't afford to go accost the citizens of Japan in person, this might just help scratch that itch for you too.
Do you believe in magic?
You have one new message.
Nico, it's Roman. Let's go bowling.
Not gonna lie, this show has been a pleasant surprise so far. Generally speaking, I'm not the biggest fan of this specific flavor of samurai-focused shows set in the Edo period. The first hour-long episode gave off the impression that this is gonna be some really angsty and super-duper serious anime. And on top of that, the show is produced by Yokohama Animation Lab, who also did Whisper Me a Love Song last year, which had problems. But episode 2 rolled around and it was pretty good. It felt a lot more measured and reserved than the edge fest that was episode 1. It's less Tokyo Ghoul and more like The Witcher if it was set in 1800s Japan. And it's actually just maintained that same level of maturity since. And while it might not be the best looking show of the season, the production itself has honestly been pretty solid.
That wasn't funny. I thought this was a comedy video. Where are all the jokes?
The production itself has been pretty solid. Unlike my stool.
Shut the fuck up. Why does this seem so familiar? Hey, wait a minute! This is just Sympho Gear again! What the fuck is that? You know, people don't talk enough about how fucking cool it is to see girls running around punching the shit out of things while they're singing. I mean, that was pretty much the whole reason to watch Sympho Gear, and I don't think that's about to change with their attempt at a Precure killer. Basically, girls take YouTube to the extreme and get sucked into the internet where they can live out their dreams of being makeup tutorial content creators in real life. You could probably make some snide comment about how kids used to want to be astronauts or some shit, but given the history of magical girls and how closely tied they've been to idols, them wanting to start some true crime podcast or whatever feels right at home. The only thing that kind of sucks is that there are only magical girls in the metaverse. Actually, I'm not even really sure what the fuck's going on with that. Is this like Digimon? Is it like Sword Art Online? Now, this being Silverlink, I don't expect it'll hit the production levels of Precure, so you probably won't be able to trick your friends into watching it by posting some badass Sakuga clip out of context. But since the metaverse in this world is a no boys allowed club, you should be in for a gay old time.
Lazarus is the latest action anime coming from Studio Mappa, with action choreography done by the director of the John Wick movies and directed by the legendary Shinichiro Watanabe, and the show is just okay. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad show by any means, but it very much feels like it was made to appeal to Westerners who watched Cowboy Bebop on Toonami like 20 years ago and have vague memories of the most standout aspects of the show. Really well done hand-to-hand combat animation, a cast of cool, suave, charismatic main characters, and lots of jazz music. Even the poster for the show is just screaming, "This is the new Cowboy Bebop!" But Cowboy Bebop itself was so much more than just those few elements, and so far Lazarus hasn't really offered much to separate itself from those obvious Bebop comparisons, which really aren't doing the show any favors. Also, having your main antagonist be
I'm not gonna say what race, what people,
who plans on ending
it was a Jewish doctor.
plans on ending the world using a drug that people thought was beneficial initially but actually turned out to be poison is certainly a choice.
Beer is good, beer is good, beer is good.
Look, I don't care how much bait for lonely dudes you throw in your anime. Your Gyaru who's too stupid to know how to download Instagram, or even how endearing that vignette about the new wife getting into fights with fans in the stands for shit-talking her husband is. You aren't going to get me with your fucking baseball propaganda.
Okay, so I know literally nothing about Gundam. I saw the first season of Witch from Mercury, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really like it, and that's basically it. Thankfully, they end up actually summarizing the plot of the original TV show, so let me just go ahead and watch that real quick, and I'll get right back with you. Now I'm even more confused. Jokes aside, while being familiar with Gundam is obviously going to enhance your experience watching this, it definitely doesn't feel like a requirement, at least so far. Just watch me be completely wrong. Hopefully it's not though, because this show is really damn good. Coming from Kazuya Soromaki and Yoji Enokido, who are probably both best well known for their work on Fooly Cooly and Die Buster, you could definitely see echoes of those shows in terms of the direction and the pacing of the writing. And the character designs. My god. Character designer Take really knocked it out of the park with the designs, and if the sheer amount of fan art I've seen on my Twitter timeline is anything to go by, this will definitely be one of the biggest shows of the year, hands down.
Don't you want to talk about all the changes at the time?
No.
Maebashi Witches is like a classic magical girl show if one had ever been directed by a surrealist director like Ikuhara. What do you mean he's already? A group of young girls set out to become witches, and to do so they had to help people and earn an arbitrary amount of MacGuffins, all the while learning about their community and the people around them. And maybe, just maybe, learning a little bit about themselves in the process. I'm sorry, that's just the synopsis for Ojimajidor. Apparently the girls went to the Oompa Loompa school of problem solving though, because the solution to every problem seems to be singing a song.
What are you at? Getting terribly fat. What do you think will come of that?
But in spite of that, the idol sequences are actually kind of cool. They're where the visual storytelling really gets to shine. Honestly, we need more idol shows where the visuals just devolve into a surrealist nightmare every time they start singing. I don't know what it's been with anime lately, but the banter seems to have gotten much quicker, and I think it's been a change for the better. Plus, the show also loves to employ the subtle art of cutting a character off for comedic effect mid-
Yeah, that's right, Shinji. Get in the fucking robot, or else Ray's gonna have to—
Your Forma just might be one of the most underrated series this season. At least so far, Your Forma has felt like the closest thing we've had to a Ghost in the Shell since Standalone Complex. We don't talk about that one. Unlike something like Psycho-Pass, which has absolutely nothing to do with the nature of transhumanism and what defines humanity and separates us from machines, Your Forma actually tackles these themes. And it does so pretty competently. Nobody just walks down some stairs and is like,
"Ah yes, but have you heard of Nietzsche?"
Now, don't get me wrong, your Forma is kind of silly in this way, but it does so in just the right amount. Like, I could absolutely see some megalomaniacal scientists likening their work on AI to the creation of Adam. And while I was initially perturbed at the name dropping of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, it makes sense in this specific context. Plus, it's drawing your attention to specific elements of the book for you to draw parallels to what's happening in the story. We all gave Mamoru Oshii a pass when that robot fucked up the Tree of Life. And hell, Standalone Complex even does the exact same thing with the Tachikoma. Yeah, sure, you might get this on-the-nose reference to Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, but it's also a cute character moment where he's just trying to smooth things over by giving her a cute stuffed animal. And yeah, there's a conflict of ideas for how to approach AI, but it's sort of more couched in their interpersonal drama, leaving just enough information for you to kind of draw your own conclusions. And it's in their back and forth that you kind of find yourself just thinking, how is this any different from a human? Just like Ghost in the Shell. Or iRobot. Specifically the Will Smith.
You should watch Evil Lord of an Intergalactic Empire if you like mecha, space operas, isekai, NTR, action, samurai, magic, Takehita Koyasu, NTR, reincarnation, robots, maids, Dune, NTR, revenge, fantasy, OP protagonists, NTR, science fiction, NTR, mecha, isekai, NTR, samurai, NTR, Takehita Koyasu, robot mates, NTR, god fucking damn it, what is this show and why is it trying to give me goddamn day damage?
Have you ever found yourself saying they couldn't make anime like this anymore? Well, good news! You can shut the fuck up. For the uninitiated, Samurai Legend Yaiba is a new adaptation of the manga Yaiba, not to be confused with the 1990s adaptation Legendary Brave Swordsman Yaiba by the mangaka who brought you the beloved classic Detective Conan, otherwise known as Case Closed. And it's good to see Wit Studio finally putting their animators to good use for a change, as this shit is balls to the wall almost non-stop, to the point that even the OP is almost visually incomprehensible. It's almost like someone just found their old coat stash they threw into a volume of Yaiba back in the 90s and thought, hey, what if we just adapt this again, but in 2x speed? It feels very much of its time, too, and I mean that in a good way. Sure, there's a little bit of that 90s masculinity in here, but a little testosterone never hurt anybody. If you're the type to cringe at old school anime fan service, I suggest you suck it the fuck up and give this one a shot anyway, because they don't make them like this anymore. Oh god, fuck! The absolute mad lads at Shaft are back at it again. After years of being on that Madoka, Monogatari, and Sangatsu content grind, they have finally returned to their roots with a comedy series reminiscent of the Shaft of old. This show is dark. No, I don't mean that kind of dark, you fucking idiot. The gag is pretty simple. Runaway ninja teams up with a professional assassin, they get confronted by other ninja hunting down the runaway, and the assassin kills them in one hit. Rinse and repeat. And that's all well and good, but the comedy really doesn't kick in until afterwards when they get into the anime girl equivalent of
2 days to determine.
Oh what? You thought them dying unceremoniously and getting turned into leaves was funny? They had hopes and dreams, families and friends. The world had no problem continuing on without them, and it will have no
You're laughing?
continuing
Those girls are dead, and you're laughing? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, this show's pretty good.
The only mystery they're not going to be able to solve is why am I going to keep watching this show? Plot twist, I won't.
One shocking revelation I had recently was that Mono was in fact an anime adaptation by the mangaka of Yuru Camp, and not a disease transmitted by I knew what to expect from this show. I watched Yuru Camp after all, and I wasn't particularly impressed. And that's why it almost hurts me to say this. Mono might just end up being my anime of the year. Much like how we've seen a return of beloved classics this season, Mono has truly returned to form for the slice of life genre. It feels like the sort of cute girls doing cute things shows I used to love. They seem to really have fun with the use of perspectives, which leads to some really stunning visuals at times. And the characters have almost this perfect balance in their dynamic. Honestly, I'm kind of at a loss for words. So yeah, no jokes, I guess. Go watch Mono. Try opening the second window for stereo.
Be our guest, be our guest, be our guest.
I swear to God, this season is making me hate good anime. There are like 20 fucking shows this season that we're watching, and they're all really damn good. It's an embarrassment of riches, honestly, but I think Apocalypse Hotel might be my favorite show of the season. At the very least, it's a strong frontrunner. The basic premise of the show is like if there was an alternate ending to M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening, where the plants win and now everyone on Earth is either dead or has fled the planet into deep space.
You like hot dogs, right?
And kind of like that show, Life After People. Does anyone watching this even remember that show? The show basically follows the daily lives of the robot workers at the fully automated Galaxy Tower Hotel in Ginza. They're still clinging on to hope that one day humans will return to Earth, but in the meantime they're fine with hosting any alien guests that decide to stop by as well. Whether they be Tanukis who destroyed their own planet by covering it with shit, or plants. Needless to say, there's a pretty strong, almost bittersweet undertone to this show. If you're someone who really likes stuff like Girls Last Tour or Yokohama Shopping Log, this will be right up your alley, honestly. But at the same time, the show is really goddamn funny. Obviously, humor is very subjective, but there are just so many jokes in this show that just have me laughing to the point that I'm struggling to breathe. Plus, just look at how cute Yachiko is. Mwah, chef's kiss, 10 out of 10, no notes, pure cinema.
Oh, finally, some new material for those anime aesthetic accounts. This has easily been one of the most impressive anime of the season for me so far. The entire first episode was engaging and atmospheric in a way that most anime could only dream of. The grunginess of the city, the bustle and energy of the community. It has this reverence for the setting that the best slice of life shows are made of, giving you an appreciation for even the most mundane. It has this romanticism for nostalgia, but also criticism for being stuck in the past. Throughout the first episode, there's just weird things that are present or just happen, and you kind of just placidly accept it in the moment. But it's the reveal at the end of the first episode that recontextualized everything we just watched while also setting up a through line that will carry us through the rest of the season that really elevated it to another level. Suddenly, all the little hints they'd been building up made sense. Not to mention, this is the most erotic show of the season. I mean, just look at her. She's not the best girl of the show, though. That title goes to Ramiel. What, I didn't mention the giant floating CGI diamond they have in the sky? Sorry, I must have forgot.